No matter what your style is, these basic design principles are essential to elevate the space. Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, I am sharing with you the basic principles of interior design and things you absolutely have to elevate your space. If you're not familiar with my channel, I am a formally trained interior designer, and I share with you all of my knowledge to help you elevate your spaces, because we all deserve a beautiful home and a beautiful space that we love. Now be sure you subscribe to the channel and you hit the bell notification to get notified every time I upload, and let's get into the video. The first thing we are going to be talking about is drapery and curtains. Now I know we hear it a lot that, oh, hang the drapes to the ceiling, and it's true for a number of reasons. The reason we like curtains hung to the ceiling is because we increase the amount of vertical lines in the space. Increasing the number of vertical lines as opposed to horizontal is going to make a space look taller. We're changing the proportions. We're flipping them over and bringing the eye up. Increasing the vertical lines, increasing the length of them and the height of them will elevate the space, make it look taller, make your ceilings look higher, and make the space feel more open. The reason for that is all of the weight of a space is down low. It's in your furniture, your sofas, your rugs, your bed, whatever that is down low. It's on the floor. Most pieces of furniture are not higher than 3 feet. So what do we do with all of the other space? We fill it up, we elevate it, and we create contrast and dramatic interest. Now the next most important element to keep in mind when it comes to drapery is the stacking depth of curtains. What I mean by that is how much space they take up when they are open. This is important because if we don't have the correct proportions, the curtains will feel almost like they're just like tattered rags kind of just hanging there. They'll feel thin and dainty. We want curtains to feel full and substantial. As a general rule of thumb, you want 1 inch of stacking space for every foot of height. If you have an 8-foot ceiling, 8 inches of stacking space, 9-foot ceiling, 9 inches of stacking space. It sounds basic and simple, but this creates good scale and proportions in terms of the draperies, because we don't want them to feel like they're thin, like they are insignificant, because it will lead them to looking cheap. Even if you go custom and you spend all of this money, if they're not the correct stacking depth, they won't look luxurious. Now, if you have a difficult space, an oddball size, be sure you head over and check out my How to Hang Draperies video, because there was a lot of information I covered in there. I addressed vaulted ceilings, angled ceilings, odd-shaped and different height windows. Be sure you head over and check that out. It will be linked in the description box down below. While we're on the topic of height and where to hang things, let's talk about artwork. There's a lot of misconceptions about where to hang artwork because it can be difficult, or we see different spaces or different ideas about it, and a lot of people tell you to hang it at your eye height or in line with your side. I literally don't even understand it because it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. The realities are that is something that plays in a museum. It doesn't work in a house. In a house, you want your artwork to be in line either with the architecture or with itself. This creates balance, scale, and proportion alongside those draperies because you want to bring the eye up. You want to make that space feel grand, no matter what your style is. If you like something that's very organic and modern, if you like something that's really traditional, like I do, lining artwork up makes a space feel larger, taller ceilings, bigger and more open. Having it hung in line with itself also creates a visual line that your eye is drawn to. It distracts from all of the other things, that line of sight right there that goes across, which is why in my home, I hang my artwork in line with door frames and windows so that it feels tall and brings the eye up to the ceiling height, and then your eye kind of pops up to the ceiling and it makes the space feel even taller and larger than it is. Of course, if you have tall ceilings and large door openings, you can't hang your artwork in line with those. But there usually is some sort of line you can choose to line things up with, or just line them up with themselves. It don't have to be in line with any one specific piece of architectural detail or feature. They can be in line with themselves, but it's all about creating these lines that play and contrast off of one another. My top suggestion is when you are hanging curtains and artwork together, hang them at different heights. Bring those curtains up to the ceiling and the artwork should be definitely below that. You don't want your artwork hung at ceiling height. It's going to make it feel way too high, but you also don't want your artwork to feel low because it will bring down the space and make your ceilings look lower. While curtains and artwork bring the eye up, something that will create balance and weight in a space is the right size rug. We also hear a lot about this, that you want all of the furniture to sit on the rug. And that's not true necessarily, because it can be difficult to find a rug that all of your furniture will fit on. Sometimes you just don't have a big enough room to get a large enough rug for all of that to work. In general, as a rule of thumb, I like to see 50% at a minimum of the weight of a furniture sitting on a rug. What does that mean? I don't want furniture to sit more than half off of a rug. It creates the effect when it's not sitting on the rug that it's almost like gripping and holding on, like it's falling off the side of it. We don't want that. We want the rug to ground the space, and having it at least 50% of the way under furniture is going to do that. My preference, of course, is for 75%. As a matter of fact, I'm not the biggest fan of all furniture sitting on a rug. I think it creates a space that's a little bit too hotel-like, as opposed to something that does feel a little bit quirky, does feel a little bit off, because it's a home, because it's lived in, and it has that character. 75% is a great idea, rule of thumb to follow if you can, because it creates an even more grounding effect, and it encloses a space. It makes it feel like this is a space. It defines that from other areas. Even in a living room like mine, where it's longer than it is deep, I'm able to use a rug to say, this is the area that the furniture sits, and wherever the rug is not, those are great walking paths. And a rug will always create that for you if it's the appropriate size. The one thing you never want to do, though, is have an undersized rug. If a rug is just sitting under a coffee table, it really is not serving you a purpose other than maybe a place for your dog to lay. And while I love that for him, it's not going to add to the design of the space. If anything, it will make the space feel like you have a lot of floating items that don't have a relation or correlation to one another. Having a rug that's the appropriate size will ground a space, but also make a space feel luxurious and connected, warm, comfortable, and cozy. Now be sure to head over and check out my Stop Taking This Design Advice series, where I dive in and talk in depth about a lot of these topics, and I dispel some rumors or some ideas that are just not right when it comes to interior design. The entire series, parts 1, 2, and 3, will be linked in the description box down below. The next thing we're going to talk about is lighting, but before we do, I'd like to take a moment and thank today's video sponsor, Skillshare. I love teaching you, but there are only so many things I can share with you at once. That's why I love Skillshare. Their easy-to-use platform makes enhancing your knowledge on topics you're actually passionate about fun and easy. They have classes about design, cooking, organization, and meditation. I have really been enjoying Thomas Frank's Productivity Masterclass, Create a Custom System That Works. It's all about upping your productivity and time management, because life is busy, especially with work and kids. Not that I have kids, but I do have dogs, so basically the same thing. But his classes have genuinely helped me to make the most of my time to help balance how overwhelming life can be at times. There's also nothing better than enhancing yourself and your space and your life. Trust me, I know. Accomplishing that growth is satisfying, and Skillshare makes it simple. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a free 1-month trial of premium Skillshare membership, so you can explore your creativity. And if it ain't premium, it ain't LeChic. Now, about that lighting. We as designers love to use lighting to enhance a space, to make it feel warmer, more inviting, and cozy, but it's also great for setting a mood. And the way we achieve this is by having multiple sources of lighting. Now, of course, you have natural lighting, which is wonderful, but we always like to see 3 alternative sources of lighting. One can be an overhead light, lamps, sconces, a floor lamp. Some forms of lighting are necessities, and we just have to have them in order to be able to see and use a space. But other forms are all about setting a mood. Something like an overhead light is going to be all about using the space, and while you certainly can get something that's dimmable that will also add to the moodiness of a space, we still want to see 2 more sources. Something like a lamp or a sconce is going to be mood lighting. It's going to create a warm glow, and while you're using a space, you can just have those lamps on or just the sconces to create a very sumptuous, luxurious, and warm effect in a space. But you can also have something that's like a task light that is going to be for usage, and you can sit there and read a book and have your task light on it, and it's going to illuminate that and make a space easier to use. We want to have 3 sources of lighting in order to take advantage of different times or feelings or uses of a space. One might be a overhead light fixture, another is lamps, and then maybe you say, you know what, I want to mix it up, Garrett, and I want to add LED strip lighting behind my television. That's cool. These are all going to have different effects. We want to have 3 sources of lighting to create a luxurious and sumptuous and layered space, because layered lighting really will say luxurious, it will say comfortable and relaxing spaces. That's what we want our homes to be. We want them to be comfortable and useful, but we also want them to be beautiful, and 3 forms of lighting will definitely do that for you. The next topic we're going to talk about is something I want you to keep in mind as you are going forward, as you are decorating your space in your home, and that is scale. Scale is commonly referred to as size, but size is not a descriptive enough word. Size is too generic. It's small, medium, large. It doesn't describe how a piece relates to others, and that's what the basic principle of scale is. It's the way furniture, objects relate to one another and the space they're in, and also their usage. There are a lot of ideas and principles to keep in mind when it comes to scale, but the most important thing is the visual scale of a piece. It's the visual weight, how much space it takes up visually, not physically. The reality is, 2 sofas that are the exact same dimensions can have completely different scale. One can be very heavy and very upholstered and have a really significant weight in a space, while another can have very slender legs and sit high and thin arms and a back and can feel very spacious and open and light. Scale is the difference between the 2, and scale is the weight of the 2, the visual weight of the 2, because that is really the most important element when it comes to interior design. The scale of pieces and how they relate to a space. That's why we say hang curtains to the ceiling and where to hang artwork. We're increasing the scale of the space, the height and proportions, the balance. All of that is described as scale. When I tell you to keep scale in mind, what I really mean is make sure you're considering how pieces interact with one another. It might be a coffee table and a sofa. It might be a chair and your fireplace. It can be a lot of different elements in a space, but think about how it relates to all of the other elements in that room. We tend to like to see varying heights of furniture and backs and arms of sofas, but something that's going to throw scale off is if the seat height is not the same on a sofa and chairs, because it will make one piece look shrunken. And it's the same thing that applies to a large piece of artwork and a small piece of artwork. That large piece of artwork is going to shrink the smaller piece. So adding some other pieces of artwork into that small piece, making it a collage, will increase the scale of it and give you correct balance. That's what you want in a space. You want it to feel even and you want it to feel calm and simple. No matter what the style is, you can achieve that through good scale. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on all of these topics I've just shared? Now, be sure if you are not subscribed, you do so. And if you know someone that maybe they need some of this help or they could use a little bit of understanding on one of these topics, share this video with them, because friends help friends, and I will see you in the next one.